Coming up next on Power for Living with Bishop Dale C. Bronner.
But I'm just telling you, God will make you like the phoenix that rises up out of the ashes. Where he will, out of the ashes, he will bring beauty out of your ashes. You're wondering, I've been set back by what happened in my life, but listen, it's not over. It's not over. It doesn't end here.
This is Bishop Dale Bronner. Life has brought to us some interesting changes, and we are navigating day by day our new normal. There are some things that we should never return to, and there are some things that we should never abandon. This is a time of introspection, of reflection, of decision to say, what is it that should never change, and how do I want to be better in the future? What have I learned from what I've been through that transforms me into the next character and person that God is calling me to be for this next season of my life? This is that season. Your new normal is one with greater wisdom, greater strength, greater pertinacity. This is the time to move forward with clear decisions, being the best you that you can be. So I'm speaking today from the subject centered, because this literally is the central verse. It is the center of the whole Bible. Psalm 118 is the central chapter in the scriptures. There's an even number of chapters before this and an even number of chapters after this. In fact, Psalm 117 that precedes it is the shortest chapter in the whole Bible. And Psalm 119 that follows it is the longest chapter in the whole Bible. But here we are in the center of the book, and God hid for us a central message that ought never to be lost in Psalm 118 and verse 8, to trust. It's better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in man. And this is not gender specific. He's talking about mankind. In other words, human being. But God allows us to see failure and frailty in human beings so that we do not put a trust and a confidence in another two-legged human being that only belongs to God. I mean, you can think the world of your mama and your daddy, and as you get older, you'll begin to start seeing, cracks in their armor. Anybody that you ever said, when a mother has a child and she just think that her baby is just God's gift to the whole world. And after a while, that baby will grow up and start saying something and give her some looks and leaving his or her room dirty and failing to take the trash out and to do some things. And the very child that brought you so much joy will let you down. And when the school has to call you and embarrass you, and then now you got to threaten the child, don't let this school call me again. And your lips ball up, and and this was the very child that brought you so much joy. And this is the only reason why God says, put your trust in the Lord and not in man. Don't put your confidence in man, but trust in the Lord. He says this at the center of the whole book. And I don't know why, but sometimes we think that some star has risen that's going to be the game changer, the gift of the whole world, only to discover that they are flawed, as we all are. For all have sinned. All, A-double-L means to the exclusion of none. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. So God says, listen, don't just save yourself some disappointment. Nobody is disappointed by what they find in life. We're only disappointed by what we expect to find. And if you expect some man to be your answer and to never misstep, never do anything that offends you, to never, fail to remember some important thing, to never talk to you in a tone that doesn't, listen, grow up. If you think that this woman is God's gift to you and that she's all of this and she's just perfect, tread lightly. It goes both ways. Listen, he's just saying, listen, don't put your confidence in flesh.
They have something that's going to rub you the wrong way. There's something that's going to say, oh, there are certain things that I'm convinced that God will hide from you before you commit to a person, because if you knew all of everything that you were going to discover ahead of time, there's no way you would sign up for it. So God hides certain things for your own protection. But just know, don't expect a human being to be God in your life. They will always let you down. They will always come short. They are not God. We are all flawed. We all have history. We've all had trauma, and we all are broken, but beautifully broken when we have submitted ourselves to Jesus Christ. Our love for people is not based on their perfection. It is based on the grace of God that enables us to be able to love them and see beyond their faults and see needs that we are beautifully and uniquely qualified to meet in them. So God has created us to be able to love and for people to love us. He's given someone, in spite of you, the grace. When God uniquely joins you together, God will give your real mate the grace to be able to handle your imperfections. They will have the grace to handle your imperfections. But we're talking about being centered in a way to where you realize that it is better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in man. Can you imagine what Joseph felt like using his gift, his prophetic gift of the ability to interpret dreams in prison while he was in prison? And he interpreted a dream for both the butler who was in jail and the baker who was in jail. He interpreted both of their dreams, and he said, listen, if y'all get out, tell them about me. He blessed them. He helped them. When they got out, they forgot about it. Well, of course, one was put to death because he was telling him, that was the interpretation of his dream. Dude, you're going to die. But the other one, the prophetic message in the dream was, you're going to be restored back to your position. And he says, when you do get back there, remember me. The man got back there. He had just bled him. He let him down. And he went some more years and forgot about him until the king had a haunting dream. And all of a sudden, this dude said, that dude that interpreted the dream for me over there in cell D, in cell block D. He said, yeah, and so he told the king about the man, and they said, go there and get him. And they changed his clothes. Isn't it amazing that when you've got a gift, God will create a problem in somebody who has the ability to bless you for where your gift is the answer to what they need. And so God still had him, his confidence. This man never became bitter. Joseph never became bitter. May I explain to you one of the main reasons that Joseph never became bitter? Is because when he was a child and God gave him that dream, God never showed him the trouble that he would go through. He only showed him the glory that he would go to, not the trouble that he would go through. He never showed him his brothers betraying him and plotting to kill him, putting him in a pit, and then selling him into slavery. He never showed him Potiphar's wife lying on him and winding him up in jail. He never showed him the pit. He never showed him the prison. He only showed him the palace. So one of the things that Joseph knew based on his dream is that it cannot stop here. Touch somebody and say, it cannot end here. It cannot end here. Listen, God never ends on a negative. If you're in a down position, just realize God is not through. God is not through. He will, in his time, make all things beautiful. He has the ability to bring you beauty out of ashes. Somebody has had something that is burned to the ground, that has messed up, and you wondered, can I live again? Will I ever be able to rise again? I've lost everything that I have. Who am I talking to? But I'm just telling you, God will make you like the phoenix that rises up out of the ashes. Where he will, out of the ashes, he will bring beauty out of your ashes. You're wondering, I've been set back by what happened in my life, but listen, it's not over. It's not over. It doesn't end here. It doesn't end here. You're in a pit. It doesn't end here. You're on lockdown. You can't move the way that you really would like to move. It doesn't end here. You're under a legal suit. Somebody has got you paying all kind of money that you can't afford. It doesn't end here. You've been diagnosed with a medical condition and they don't really have a cure, and you're just limping along, dealing with symptoms every day. It doesn't end here. It doesn't end here. It doesn't end here. Prophesy to yourself and trust in the Lord, and do not put your confidence in man. If you'll notice Hebrews chapter 6, verse 18 and 19, so God has given both his promise and his oath. This is why we can trust God. You can trust God. He's given us his promise and his oath. And these two things are unchangeable because it is impossible. It is impossible. It is impossible for God to lie. It is impossible for God to lie. If God has told you something, it's impossible for God to lie. He can't lie in his word, and he won't lie to you. Therefore, we who have fled to him for refuge can have great confidence as we hold to the hope that lies before us. This hope is a strong and trustworthy anchor for our souls. It leads us through the curtain into God's inner sanctuary. You see, you can trust God because you can trust his character. His character is stable. God has a history. You can never go back and find an instance in his history book where God failed. Man has failed that he gave an assignment to, but God has never failed. God never fails. God has never lied. He will speak something, and if it were not so, it would become created, because God's word cannot return void, but it will prosper in the thing whereto he sent it and accomplish that which he pleases. It's amazing that this is a power that belongs only to God. And the moment that human beings begin to take on the kind of God authority that God reserves for himself, corruption sets in. You see, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, is what Lord Acton said. And the Bible says, trust in the Lord and put no confidence in flesh, in humanity. And I'm telling you, the greatest curse in our world today is egotistical and egocentric leaders who are in a position and they use their power to get people to serve them instead of using the power to be able to serve the people. Leadership is about servanthood. If you want to be the greatest of all, become the servant of all. And so we serve them. We bring something to them that adds value into their life. And so we're supposed to be rooted and grounded and centered in Jesus Christ. He's the one who anchors us. And that's supposed to be evidenced by our humility and by our love. That's how you know that a person is anchored in God. It bothers me when I see people preaching righteousness and it seems like they are angry. It seems like they don't have any love in their heart. And I'm telling you, people are drawn to the light, but they will stay where the love is. See, light is attractive. I mean, it'll draw you. And it's not merely the light that actually keeps them. The light draws them. The light draws them, but it's actually not merely the light, but it's the warmth that the light gives off, which is a symbol of the presence of love. And if you have nothing but revelation but no love, if you have nothing but law but no love, if you have nothing but rules and regulation but no love, if you have nothing but contractual stipulations but no love, it makes the relationship seem very contractual. And God says, I want you to choose to love me. I don't want you to love me because of what I have, because of my bank, and because I can bless you and heal you. I want you to love me for me. Just like he said, I love you for you. God loved us while we were unlovable. He loved us. He made an investment. It wasn't because of what we could do for him, God loved us because that's who he is. God is love. 1 John 4:8. But notice Ephesians chapter 3 and verse 14 through 19. Notice the Apostle Paul, writing to the church at Ephesus, says that when I think of all of this, he said, I fall on my knees and pray to the Father, the creator of everything in heaven and on earth. And I pray that from his glorious, unlimited resources, and you see that God has unlimited resources, he will empower you. He will never run out. He will empower you with inner strength through his Spirit. God says, I got the power you need. You plug into me and God says, I'll charge you up. I'll charge you up. But here's the key. If you really want to plug into God's power, you got to unplug from the world. The more you stay plugged into social media and to television and all of this junk and hype and the politics, he says unplug. The way to recharge with God is to unplug from the stuff that saps your energy. All of these energy drainers, and you got to get something that becomes a fountain of life in your life and starts pouring into you. He says unplug from that, and then you'll find your strength. He says he will empower you with inner strength through his Spirit. And verse 17 says, then Christ will make his home in your hearts as you trust in him. And notice what he says, your roots will grow down into God's love and keep you strong. I'm going to get you grounded and centered. And may you have the power to understand, as all God's people should, how wide, how long, how high, and how deep his love is. And he said, may you experience the love of Christ, though it is too great to understand fully. Then you will be made complete with all the fullness of life and the power that comes from God. This is why we've sang the song today, Jesus, you're the center of my joy. I want to be centered in you. I want to be centered. Jesus, you are the center. You are the center. You got to be the center of my heart. You got to be the center of my affections. You got to be the center of my marriage. You got to be the center of my family. Jesus, you got to be the center of my business. This thing is centered on you and on your principles and on your word. And it's amazing that sometimes when you get centered on God, most people will think then that you are in some way radical. The word radical comes from a word called radicalis. Radicalis literally means rooted. It literally means rooted. Anytime that you get rooted in God, you will begin to produce radical fruit. When you are rooted, God will make sure that you are fruited. See, it's the sign that I'm plugged into God, that if God is love, and if I'm rooted in God, then I am a loved person, and people ought to be able to feel his love bearing fruit through my life. If there is no love, there is no God. I've got to be able to see the fruit of my Father, who is love. If you're rooted in him, if you're grounded in him, the depths, the height, the width of life, all of that rooted and grounded, if I am centered in that, it is God's love that keeps us centered. When you become profit-driven instead of love-driven, you will lose your balance. You will come off balance. And so he's calling us to be centered, to be centered, to be centered on the things that are about love. So he's centering us. He's calling us simply to be centered. The early Christians were called radical only because they were just obeying what the Bible said. They were not extreme. They were just doing what the word said. And because the other people who are marginalized and who are lukewarm see somebody doing the Bible, and then all of a sudden they call you radical. Radical means rooted. It doesn't mean wild and ungrounded. It means that because I understand this truth of what God says, my soul has been set on fire, and now I am producing a fruit of love in my life because I am rooted and grounded in him. Remember now, he said, it's better to trust in the Lord than to put confidence in human beings. Remember this very familiar passage? Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean to your own understanding, because you don't understand everything. You don't know the background. You don't know the backstory. You don't know what this person has been through. You don't know what they overcame. How dare you try to judge somebody when you don't know their story? Don't lean to your own understanding. In all of your ways, acknowledge him that if it were not for the grace of God, that could have been me. How dare you judge somebody else? In all of your ways, acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. We're called to be centered. Even in the Old Testament, you'll discover that God's pattern for his people was for their lives to be centered around him. I want you to notice what the Bible says. You want to get the pattern of God, go back to the Old Testament where God put it into position. Numbers chapter 2, notice verse 1 and 2. He says, then the Lord gave these instructions to Moses and Aaron. He says, when the Israelites set up camp, each tribe will be assigned its own area. The tribal divisions will camp beneath their family banners on all 4 sides of the tabernacle. How many sides? 4 sides of the tabernacle, on every side, but at some distance from it. See, this is about organization and orderliness. It's for God's people, because the tabernacle of Moses, which was in the wilderness, it was God's tabernacle, and it represented his physical presence among his people in the earth, which was about for his direction and God's will. Let me give you a little picture of that to show you what the tabernacle of Moses looked like. Take a look at that. You see in the center where that smoke is coming up, that's the tabernacle of Moses. That's the tabernacle. And all around it, remember he said on 4 sides, on the north, the south, the east, and the west. If you will notice, he said they were to be lined up according to the families. You see the families, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun on one side. Dan, Asher, Naphtali on the other side. Ephraim, Manasseh, Benjamin on the other side. And Reuben, Simeon, and Gad on the other side. Close around, the only tribe that was left out is the tribe of Levi. But those are the ones that are centered directly around, because they were the Levitical priesthood. So they were assigned to take care of the tabernacle of Moses. They were the closest to the tabernacle. So all of the people, this is what city planning looked like from a godly perspective. That God put his tabernacle in the front of everything, so that when they got up in the morning, they were all facing the tabernacle of God. Every tribe standing with their family, rooted and grounded. They were centered on the tabernacle of God. It was at the center of the city. That was the center of the city. When they went to bed at night, it was the last thing that they looked at, because they were centered on it. Everything, God wanted the tabernacle to be in the center of their thoughts. He's like, because out of sight, out of mind. And now if you think about how our cities are arranged, you go to small towns, and at the center of that little town is City Hall. And City Hall is surrounded by other little stores. It's by retail stores. And there they are. It's political power. City Hall is a picture of political power. And the retail stores, is a symbol of economic power. It's not that either one of them is evil, that they are necessary. But when you put them at the center, it says something about their preeminence, their focus, their importance. And now the tabernacle has been pushed to the suburbs, outside of the view of the people. So they are not waking up and thinking about the tabernacle. They're not going to bed and thinking about the tabernacle. Now God is out of sight and out of mind, because they took their focus off of him. And he said, listen, I want to stay in the center of the focal point of my people. I want them to think about me. They can't go to work without having to think about my temple. I want them to realize that my presence is with them, in their community, with their families. How you going to get crazy as a single person because you're centered in a family? He said, get under the family banner. It's hard to lose your mind when you're still there centered with your family. I'm talking about when you from the sticks, back in the boondocks. You out there in when you didn't have any services that came out there. And when you're from these kind of places, you had family though, that kept you rooted and grounded. And you didn't go wilding out because you knew mom and daddy were around the corner, and big mama and auntie. And they would use anybody in the family to discipline you, and then call your mama. And then your mama would beat you and say, wait till your daddy gets here. And it was that community. He said, that's why you have to be centered with your family. It's hard to go crazy when you got a family that's holding you accountable and keeping you grounded and reminding you of the heritage of who you are. They've got a community down in Africa, and that whenever somebody misbehaves and breaks the law, all of the elders from the tribe, they will come there with the person, and they will speak to that person about their destiny and about their history of where they came from, and remind this person of who they are. So once they have misbehaved, now they break that pattern. They center that person in sobriety of thought and the principles of who God has really made them and called them to be, to remind them, you're not out here acting as a silo. You're a part of a family. You got to go and make your family proud. This is not just about you. We're in too much of a selfie generation where they're looking at themselves, and now you came in the suburb, in the country. Now you done moved to New York. You moved to Chicago. You moved to Philadelphia. You moved to Dallas. You moved to Los Angeles, and you done lost your mind. Because you're disconnected from the people that remind you of who you really are. No wonder identity is confused. You need to be with somebody that understands the heritage. That through many dangers, toils, and snares I have already come. That you are not here by yourself. If you went to school, it's because somebody sacrificed to be able to help you to get to where you got to. And they didn't want you to get some education and then lose your mind and get off centered from the God of our fathers that brought your mama and your daddy, your grandmama, your great-granddaddy. When they didn't have education, they realized God helped us. He kept food on the table. He kept the lights on. He kept water. He healed us when we got sick. They may have been home remedies, but we made it, we made it, we made it. You got to have somebody that reminds you, you got too much heritage in you for you to die like this with crack going up in your nose and in your veins. You got too much destiny to be snorting something up and to be drunk out of your mind. Who remind you, that centers you and calls you back in the name of Jesus to say, you are better than this, you are better than that. This is who you are, grounded, centered in the love of Jesus Christ.
Thank you for watching Power for Living with Bishop Dale C. Bronner. We pray that this message has encouraged, equipped, and empowered you to live a more victorious life. Join us next time for Power for Living with Dale C. Bronner, where revelation is power, power for living.